Why does it feel like you're spending most of your time in bed lately? Lying there, scrolling, but not really living? Maybe you call it laziness, but what if that label is hiding something deeper? You used to wake up with plans, energy, passions. Now even small tasks feel like climbing a hill. There's a huge overlap between laziness and something more serious, burnout, a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by chronic stress and an inability to cope. A 2010 survey found nearly 3 out of 4 adults reporting burnout symptoms, and many of those cases were severe. Today I'm going to walk you through 6 clear signs that what you're experiencing might not be laziness at all, but burnout. Feeling disconnected, depersonalization? Have you been moving through your day like you're on autopilot? Like there's a film between you and the world? That strange numbness, where nothing feels real and you watch your own life from the outside, is often called depersonalization, and it's a common feature of burnout. It's not just feeling tired, it's a kind of emotional fog. You might notice you no longer react to things that used to matter, or you can't remember the last time something genuinely excited you. You might feel like you're living someone else's routine: get up, go through the motions, go to bed, repeat. That sense of detachment can feel terrifying because it disconnects you from your own decisions and your sense of control. If this is happening, be gentle with yourself, don't call it laziness. This isn't a character flaw. It's your brain's and body's way of telling you it's overwhelmed. Practical moves that help in the short term are: name the sensation out loud. I feel detached right now. Ground yourself with small sensory anchors, touch a surface, notice 5 things you can see, and cut down immediate pressures where possible. If the feeling is persistent or worsening, reach out to a mental health professional. Depersonalization can respond well to therapy, rest, and paced recovery. You used to be motivated? One major clue that what you're facing isn't laziness: you used to be the kind of person who simply did things. You had goals, momentum, that inner nudge to get stuff done. Laziness tends to be stable over time, a baseline personality tendency. But if you were once driven and now feel exhausted, apathetic, or unable to start tasks you previously owned, that shift is a red flag for burnout. The change can be confusing and embarrassing. You'll tell yourself you should just push through, yet every attempt to get going drains more energy. Motivation isn't a moral failing. It's an energy resource that can be depleted by chronic stress, long hours, or repeated emotional strain. When motivation evaporates, it's your system signaling it needs rest and recalibration. Short-term hacks like to-do lists and pep talks may not be enough. Instead, scale back expectations, prioritize only the essentials, and give yourself permission to recover. Try breaking projects into 5-minute starts, and celebrate those micro wins. If you find motivation returning with rest and reduced pressure, great, but if the emptiness persists, consider talking with a therapist or coach. Rebuilding sustainable motivation often requires both practical workload changes and emotional support. You used to be passionate? Think back to the things that used to light you up: a hobby, a talent, a subject you loved. Burnout doesn't just make you tired, it robs you of the joy and interest you once had. Suddenly, the activities you poured yourself into become chores or triggers for resentment. That's a big difference from laziness. Lazy people usually lack interest from the start, but burnt out people mourn their lost enthusiasm. You may find yourself thinking, I don't even enjoy this anymore, or I can't stand doing that thing I used to love. That anger or contempt often comes from having pushed too hard for too long. Passion was drained by chronic overcommitment. If you're feeling this, the first step is permission to step back without guilt. Try giving yourself a temporary break from the thing and experiment with small, curiosity-driven touches: a 5-minute creative play, a single class, or a low-stakes meetup. Notice whether interest returns when pressure is removed. If it doesn't, allow yourself to grieve that loss and explore new, gentler ways to reconnect to joy. Therapy, peer support, and reduced workload are common routes back to balance. Above all, this loss of passion isn't proof you're broken, it's a sign you were stretched too thin. Moodiness and irritability? Have people around you begun to say you're snappier, or do small things make you explode for no obvious reason? That sudden spike in moodiness and irritability is a classic burnout signal. Unlike relaxed laziness, burnout often produces emotional volatility. You may cry one moment, snap the next, and feel shame afterward. This emotional dysregulation happens because chronic stress exhausts your emotional bandwidth. You have less tolerance for friction, less patience for mistakes, and less ability to self-soothe. You might notice your relationships suffering, friends interpret your shortness as rudeness, partners feel pushed away, and you end up withdrawing, which makes the emotional loop worse. Concretely, when irritability rises, try 3 quick moves: pause before reacting, count to 5, label the emotion, I'm feeling overwhelmed and irritated, and step away if you can for a brief reset. Long-term, rebuild emotional resilience through sleep, nutrition, gentle exercise, and boundaries around work and obligations. Consider speaking to a counselor if mood swings are frequent or severe. Therapy can teach tools to manage irritability and process underlying stress. Remember, crankiness in this context is not who you are, it's what chronic stress is doing to you. Neglected self-care and social withdrawal. One of the most visible signs of burnout is when personal care starts slipping. Maybe you're skipping meals, sleeping too much or too little, stopping your grooming routine, or canceling plans more and more. That social withdrawal often goes hand in hand with physical neglect. Simple tasks feel like mountains, and you default to bed or the couch because even small actions cost too much energy. This isn't laziness, it's energy economy. Your body conserves resources because it's been taxed for too long. Watch for changes in appetite, chronic aches, or a sense that conversations drain you instead of uplift them. If this matches your experience, start with tiny, manageable wins: rinse your face, drink a glass of water, step outside for 5 minutes, text one friend a short message. Rebuilding self-care is incremental, don't expect dramatic change overnight. Also, let people know you're having a hard time. Social support lightens the load. This will help you to overcome the burnout feeling. These changes happened gradually? You might think burnout is dramatic, a single breaking moment, but the truth is quieter and sneakier. Burnout is a slow drift. It's tiny shifts stacking up: a skipped lunch here, a late night there, more eye rolls at tasks that used to excite you. Before you know it, the ground under your feet feels less solid. That's what makes this sign so important. The changes happen gradually, and because they're gradual, they're easy to normalize until one day you wake up and you don't recognize the person in the mirror. Let's walk through those stages again, slowly, and with the real, everyday details that make them recognizable. First, the honeymoon phase. You're hyped about a new role, a fresh goal, or a challenge you chose. Energy is high, optimism is loud, and you're proud of the extra hours. You think, I can do this. That early glow masks stress. You feel fine, so fine that you increase your workload, skip breaks, and say yes to more. Second, onset of stress. Small compromises begin to appear. Maybe you miss a friend's call because you're finishing one more task. Maybe your sleep shifts by 30 minutes. You tell yourself it's temporary. The subtle thing here is denial. Stress is present, but you still believe your optimism will carry you through. That belief is useful and dangerous because it delays action. Third, chronic stress. Patterns harden. Your patience thins. Tasks take longer, and you get snappy over small things. You find yourself justifying working longer. If I push now, the backlog will disappear. But those extra hours don't buy you energy, they burn it. Social life phrase. Hobbies become distant memories. Your body starts sending physical warnings: headaches, tension, stomach trouble. Fourth, full burnout. Exhaustion becomes constant, not just tiredness, but numbness, emptiness, a sense of being disconnected from purpose. The things that once defined you feel heavy or pointless. You might cry in private, snap in public, and hide the change with a forced smile. Recovery at this stage is possible, but it needs deliberate rest, support, and time. Fifth, habitual burnout. The hardest stage to reverse. Patterns have rooted into lifestyle: poor sleep, chronic negativity, withdrawn social ties. This stage increases risk for depression and chronic health problems. Rebuilding here is slower. It often requires professional help and a strategic overhaul of daily routines and expectation.